Welcome to the American Intelligence Media. My name is Douglas Gabriel. I'm your host, and I have with me Michael McKibben. And today, we're going to talk about the keys to the digital kingdom. Michael, welcome to the show.
Hi, Douglas. Great to be with you.
Well, once again, we have followed you down into the mines, and we've seen what you've brought up, and it's shining like a star. I cannot believe that it has gone one level deeper, and hopefully this is the bottom, because what you've found out are the encryption keys. You have found out the encryption keys to every single transmission that happens on the internet, who owns it, and perhaps why it is that we don't even know that it exists. So Let's talk about that today, Michael. What have you found?
We're still researching, by the way. The information is just pouring out now. But let me bottom line it for you. The Clinton administration in '93 started a plan to give the FBI the backdoor key, encryption backdoor keys to the internet. And by that I mean anytime you connect from one computer to another, those computers exchange keys. And without those keys, you can't encrypt or decrypt the signal coming from one machine to another. So literally these keys are used in every transaction on the planet that uses the internet. And what we've discovered, and I'm still reeling. My mind is boggled by what we've now come to find out. But that a company called Entrust was created in 1998 as a spin-off of a Canadian telephone company, which is now named something else, but basically the infrastructure is still there. And what we discovered is that a private company named Entrust became the certificate authority for issuing these digital keys for many organizations. And we've had people looking at the securities filings for this company from 1998 to 2009 when they sold out to a San Francisco firm. And what we discovered astoundingly is that Hillary Clinton's partner at the Rose Law Firm directs this company as a Class 1 director. He was slipped in late 2003, and this means that we can show solid proof that the entire internet has been compromised and that Hillary Clinton and the Clintons have access to all the digital keys for all transactions on the planet. That is just astounding, how a private individual could have come to have such power. But the facts are now clear. That's the circumstance we're in right now. This includes almost all of the agencies, executive agencies of the government, and that includes the Department of Treasury, Department of Commerce. I'm just looking up that list right here. Commerce, Treasury, National Institute of Standards and Technology, General Services Agency, the GSA, the Department of State, the Department of Energy, the U.S. Post Office, the U.S. Patent Office, the U.S. Marine Corps, the U.S. Coast Guard, and on and on and on. And then, beyond that, we see the names of most of the major telecommunications players in Canada, in Scandinavia, in Denmark. The list, according to their records, they have over 2,000 key customers. And therefore, the Clintons, through their director, his name is Jerry C. Jones, have access to the entire back door of the internet.
Even
so they can go in.
The NSA is subservient
to
this corporation, Entrust, who we should not entrust with anything. And they who owns them, who runs them, that's another whole question.
Orlando Bravo. Some dude out in California.
So it comes down to a company, Thoma Bravo, that actually controls Entrust. So Entrust, let's get this straight. a Canadian company, basically the federalized Canadian telecommunications system, created this bogus excuse for what are called public key infrastructure certificates. And we had heard about this through something called the Federal Bridge Certificate Authority, which is just one of the hubs. And that hub or another hub may control the Department of Defense and a whole lot of things like that. And then another hub controls all these corporations, and another hub controls the satellites and the whole. So everything is controlled by this one way or the other. For sure, it comes back to a central hub called the Federal Common Policy. And when we looked
Correct.
up that committee that runs this, they simply give their authority out to a corporation. That's all they do. They're basically just yes men.
They
Nod
did.
their head.
They do. I forgot to add the FDIC, the Federal Bureau of Investigations, and get this, the U.S. Joint Chiefs of Staff,
Everything.
and the Marine Corps.
This explains why the Clintons never get prosecuted.
Right.
They not only are surveilling all of these things, but they have the ability to target and attack them.
Right.
And that's what we're going to talk about with the president's executive order in a bit. But let's just stay on this for a moment. So as we have been saying since the 1990s, early patents, anything to do with technology, information, digital, whatever, which led up to the Internet of Things patent of Richard C. Walker, which again was all centered down there in Rose Law Firm. We noticed this with the QRS-11 when Hillary's company, which was started here in America and then went to Europe and then kind of took over the whole world. QRS-11 controls navigations for planes, so we would say Hillary can bring down planes and trains. It controls many navigation devices for many things that are moving. Well, now we know that Hillary has been there from the beginning with the plan to put a tax on every single thing on the Internet. So if there was someone who owns the Internet, it would be Rose Law Firm, Jerry C. Jones, Hillary and Wild Bill Clinton, James Chandler, that would be Rosenstein and Comey and Mueller, the same group that is still today, the same group that helped bring down 911 and devise, create the domestic attack on our own people, and then now has created the attack on our election system and basically everything.
Just think about what has happened since 1993. We had the Oklahoma City bombing. We had the World Trade Center bombing. We had Kosovo. We had Rwanda. You just carry on. You mentioned 911. It now appears when we put this timeline together that every one of these events was designed to further perfect this plan to take over the digital infrastructure. And each one was a national security excuse to increase the amount of police state surveillance on all of us.
And John Brennan, James Comey, and Robert Mueller are three of the guiltiest people involved. I mean, we went into a talk yesterday with Betsy about the fact that John Brennan was in Riyadh when that explosion happened. He was in charge of Oklahoma City when that happened. He was in charge of hiding. I forgot that they were in charge of hiding the BCCI scandal with Jimmy Carter. I forgot about Noriega and the fact the horrible things they did and what happened in Panama. These three people played musical chairs in the highest positions of law enforcement and subversive activity and corporate activity. Now it's coming out the Mueller and Comey connections were just they're rife. We've done intelligence reports on it. It's so much I don't even want to get into it. But the corruption, same old people, same way. But now we find
now we know
the keys.
How they do it.
You found the keys.
The key. They just grab the keys. They go into whatever house they want to go into. They rummage through the files. They get what they want. They figure out how they can influence the person through whatever means, graft, corruption, blackmail, extortion, whatever they need to get what they want. They go get it, and then they use it against the person until that target gives in, and then they get what they want. That's why they've stayed in power for so many years, for, decades now.
This explains the 55,000 missing struck page communications, the fact that, McCabe's messages, we can't get
Can I stop you there?
Mm-hmm.
Let me just describe for somebody who's not sure what encryption keys are, how easy it would be when you have the keys. So let's say you want to delete 55,000 emails that you know are on James Comey's PC in the FBI, supposedly a secure network. Well, if you are in trust, and you have the keys that Comey uses to get in and out of his computer, then all you need to do is use those keys and you're in. It's that easy.
Well, that's the digital part. I'm going to give a sad segue to that, which is the sad note that the FBI reopened the 4 or 5 different Clinton Foundation investigations, and this time a number of agents went down to Little Rock, Arkansas, and they filled a plane with physical evidence to bring back to D.C. And guess what? No indictments, no questioning, no nothing. So the Clintons are very well known for stealing pertinent documents. They have people in jail at this moment who have been charged for stealing the documents they needed to be stolen out of federal facilities. They knew what was happening with the server. Courtesy messages to China for every single email coming in and out was not an accident because, as you say, she has the keys to it all. That's the reason she refused.
Well, you have the keys that observe the communication that people use while they're brainstorming before they've even decided what they want to do. So you can stay one step ahead of the sheriff forever with this power.
Exactly. And that's the next thing I was going to say. That's why the Clintons are always one step ahead. If the Clintons are going to be charged with something, what happens? Somebody either dies beforehand on the way there. You know how many Clintonites have died going to the FBI, going there to report their crimes? We don't even know how many. But why are they always one step ahead? Why is there a fire conveniently in the place where certain documents were going to be subpoenaed? Why does the FBI do things that nobody knows who gives them the commands? Could it be possibly that Clinton has basically the SES union in the pocket of her
most
in her
definitely.
hand, basically?
Most definitely. These are literally the keys to the kingdom. She dictates to the SES what goes on.
Now, we speculated.
With these keys, there's ultimate power here.
So these keys belong to a corporation. And Orlando Bravo, we don't even know
they
who
don't
he
belong.
is.
I'm sorry, I didn't want to interrupt you, but they don't belong to the corporation. The corporation maintains the list of keys that are supposedly the private property of the corporation that ordered them from them.
Right.
That's technically what goes on here.
And they pay, as you pointed out, monthly fees. So it's a tax. It's a tax on the internet that nobody even has added up.
Right.
If we added it up, I can't imagine how much it would be. But anyway, that's probably a tax-free tax on the internet. You want to talk about net neutrality? How about Hillary Clinton net neutrality? She is getting a piece of the pie. She got a piece of the pie at China through Walmart, through Sam Walton, sitting on a paid position of the Walton board and getting the Chinese into the World Trade Organization. She did it with Russia, with Skolkovo, the tech city that she built and made our tech lords build for Vladimir Putin. You know, she gave him she gave him $400 million to build their last uranium enrichment plant at the last time they had a nuclear summit. I mean, no one could be in her pocket more. She gave out all of her information to China, and she knew at any moment that if she wanted, she could go look at, attack, and close down any resistance to her.
Speaking of China, one of the customers of Entrust is the government of China Financial Certification Authority.
Which is basically the whole key
and another one's
to their fake stock
Bank
market, their whole fake economy, their fake supposed gold-backed yuan. It's all fake. It's all digits. That's why Eric Schmidt, who is like Count Dooku, he's like the bad Jedi Knight who's gone to China to build what? Robot warriors.